Hey everyone, this is Josh from before, and today I'm trying out a new video format. Instead of the traditional figure reviews, I want to play with this long form approach where I cover all the figures I've picked up over the past few weeks, and I might touch on some other topics as well along the way. Obviously, I mainly cover McFarlane's DC Multiverse line on this channel, but that toy line won't be around forever, so I want to start thinking ahead and create a format for content that can continue for years to come, regardless of what the topic is. I'll get more into that in a bit, but first let's look at some toys. I'm going to be looking at the new collector's edition figures, the new Page Punchers Wave, and a few others. We're going to start with McFarlane's new DC Direct Page Punchers Ghosts of Krypton Wave. These figures fall into that classic McFarlane scenario where it's like, I have no idea where these character designs came from. No idea who was asking for them, but in hand, they're so damn cool that it doesn't really matter. And these have most of the pros and cons that we've come to expect from McFarlane's DC figures. Incredible sculpts that have a ton of personality and shelf presence, very solid fun factor as far as articulation and accessories, but they're missing a lot of paint. Two of the figures in this wave share the same body bug, and the character selection just isn't going to make these must-have figures for very many DC fans. Someone is going to take one of these figures and paint all these straps and details, and it's going to be one of the sickest looking figures you've ever seen. But as it is, out of the box, it's bare bones on the paint apps, and the figures suffer for it. That's too bad, because the sculpts are really beautiful, and I do like the big, chunky proportions of Superman and Val-Zod. They remind me of that Page Puncher's Black Adam, which was a figure I really liked a lot. But if you do pick these up, man, there's fun to be had here. This doesn't look like any version of Brainiac I've ever seen, but I love the way this figure is designed. I'm a sucker for asymmetrical sculpts, and you can peg his arms and tentacles into any of the different spots on his back or even his shoulder sockets. So you can change up the look, add extra emphasis to your pose, however you want to configure that. This could be on my end of the year list, despite the fact that it's not a Brainiac anyone was asking for. But I do wish they'd been a little more thoughtful about the obvious pins. A while back, they did this Gene Stealer figure from Warhammer, and it was perfect. The way the knees and elbows look like muscle and sinew underneath the white carapace pieces, they got that just right. But this guy has ugly elbows and knees. Now, the ridiculous armor on this Superman takes the fun factor up to the next level. You're definitely going to want to play around with putting this armor on other characters as well. Obviously, it's going to fit on Val-Zod, but I like seeing it on Lex Luthor, even if, again, doesn't make a lot of sense. Try throwing it on as many characters as you can, because it's pretty rad, and they haven't done anything quite like this so far since they've had this DC license. So this is a fun wave, but as McFarlane continues to cut costs and raise prices, while also diluting the brand with a lot of filler junk and repaints, I'm going to be less and less interested in going on these little digressions, and I'm going to start sticking to just the specific characters and designs that I want for my collection. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. Now, while we're talking about cost cutting and repaints, let's look at this McFarlane Toy Store online exclusive, Mr. Zsasz. And this is where I'm going to out myself as a complete hypocrite, because this figure represents everything that has been driving me crazy with McFarlane for the past 6 months. And yet I still kind of love it. So we're getting the lazy reused body buck. We're getting almost zero accessories. We're getting almost zero paint. But they've chosen a character design that is very near and dear to my heart. If you recognize this version of Zsasz, you probably recognize him from Nightfall. Personally, I recognize this Zsasz from his first appearance in a storyline called The Last Arkham, which took place in the first 4 issues of Shadow of the Bat from 1992 by Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle, a very underrated creative team in Batman's history. This was, I believe, the first trade paperback I ever bought. It is inspired by Grant Morrison's Arkham book, while being quite a bit more accessible and kid-friendly, but it definitely still has a creepy vibe about it. Zsasz is obviously a serial killer inspired by the Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs craze of the early 90s. You first see him in this kind of dandy outfit, maybe calling to mind Jack the Ripper, but then later it's revealed that he's covered in his signature tally marks that count all the people that he has murdered. I wouldn't mind seeing a figure of the top hat and tails look as well. And now this is purely speculative on my part, but the weird evil eyes, I truly believe this was inspired by the character Perry from Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz's Elektra Assassin. Perry, he was just wearing sunglasses, so the crazy shape actually made sense. But for Zsasz, that's just what his evil eyes look like, kind of silly, but they nailed the source material in that regard. They didn't nail it with the body. Frankly, the body buck, it's too buff in my opinion, and I hate that they could have at least thrown a matte clear coat on this thing. He's too shiny. But I do highly recommend both The Last Arkham and Elektra Assassin if you haven't read those books. Quick digression, if anyone was interested in these Music Maniacs figures, they are definitely appealing depending on which artist you're trying to get. They are in the same scale and style as the Batman 66 figures, which is a short 6-inch figure. So if you want them to hang out with other 1/12 scale figures, it's not a perfect match. And they have pretty good articulation, but not as good as other 6-inch scale figures. So the value takes a hit there since these are $25. And they may not even be the version of the artist you want, like Ozzy here. I would prefer the old Ozzy, not old Ozzy with a cane. But definitely looking forward to that upcoming Rob Zombie though, so I will pick that up. Okay, I have another batch of figures and another batch of complaints about the way that McFarlane is doing business lately. First up, I got to give a shout out and a huge thank you to the great OG Trilogy, a longtime friend of the channel. He was able to help me find the Platinum Dark Knight Hong Kong Sky Escape Batman. This is the one with the wired cape, a figure that a great many people would want, and yet they made it impossible to find by making this a Platinum chase figure. Todd keeps doing these stupid fucking Platinums, making it an absolutely miserable chore to get a hold of figures that are highly desired, turning what should be a fun hobby into a cynical, unpleasant experience. Todd, fuck off with this stupid Platinum bullshit. We are literally trying to give you money, and you're making the process needlessly complicated and outdated. It's not the 90s anymore. Half of us don't even want to go waste a bunch of gas hunting stuff down in stores. Just figure out how to do open pre-orders for the stuff you know will be in high demand. This Platinum Edition shit, it's objectively stupid. It's a stupid business practice. Whoever is responsible for this is a stupid person. But thank you again to the very kind and very creative OG Trilogy. Please go follow him on Instagram. I assure you, you will not be disappointed. Another stupid new pattern is McFarlane's digital waves. Here we have a blue and gray repaint of the Rebirth Batman, which was a great figure, and I'm happy to grab another one in this colorway. But now I have to pay $25 for something I paid $20 for like 3 years ago, just so they could give me an NFT I absolutely do not want. At least he gave us some extra hands, an alternate unmasked head. I'm not totally sure if I love the unmasked head. It looks a little bit too young for Bruce Wayne, in my opinion. But overall, I'm happy to pick this up. Like I said, I'm the guy who's going to pick up just about every Batman figure they release. He's worn a lot of bat suits in different colors over the years, so I'm not just reflexively upset about this repaint. But they need to sunset this NFT garbage. Nobody is interested in the crypto scams. Todd, you're a few years late to that party, and it's kind of embarrassing at this point. They won't even post about this crypto shit on Instagram anymore because they get roasted so bad. Now, the last group of figures I want to look at is this new collector's edition wave, and I gotta say, the collector's edition figures are starting to represent everything that is wrong with McFarlane Toys in 2024. We've got 3 eagerly anticipated characters here: a comic version of the Penguin, Captain Boomerang, and Starfire. And all 3 of these figures are built around pre-existing parts and pieces from other figures. So while reusing molds isn't the worst thing in the world by itself, these collector's edition figures are $30 each. So not only are they upcharging us for characters they know that we want, they're not even completely original sculpts. And look, I'll meet them in the middle. Maybe they're not confident that Boomerang is going to sell like hotcakes. Maybe they think he's going to peg warm because he doesn't have the name recognition of a more popular character. I can understand that. But you have to pick one: reused parts or a higher price tag. You don't get to do both. The unspoken agreement is, if you're going to reuse parts and get more mileage out of an existing mold, you have to give us something more. And Boomer is maybe a bad example. because he is loaded up with a lot of fun stuff in this box. Hand options, a couple boomerangs, soft goods scarf, and trench coat. I'll definitely get a lot of playtime out of this dude. But Starfire and Penguin are for sure suffering. They need more in this box to justify the $30 price tag. Penguin does have extra hands, but he only has the same closed umbrella that came with Arkham City Penguin. He really desperately needs an open umbrella. And while we're looking at him, it's a good time to unveil my custom Poodle Lady from Batman Returns. I'm pretty stoked about how she turned out, except I still need to match the skin tone of the face to the rest of the body. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to tackle that. So she's not 100% done, but getting pretty close. Anyway, back to the collector's edition figures. The card stand is truly worthless. These are going in a landfill. And like I said, I've seen at least half the pieces they used to create these figures. So I don't feel like I'm opening something brand new. They feel like I've seen them before. Boomerang, he has Grifter's legs, and when you take off his trench coat, he has Grifter's arms as well, which they're not a terrible match for the rest of his shirt, but they were originally meant to be the arms of Grifter's jacket. So it feels a little off. So yeah, pick one, reuse pieces, or a higher cost. Either one by itself would be understandable, but combined, you're just pissing me off, and I'm really not interested in making videos about things that piss me off. I want to hang out with you all, and I want to share our enthusiasm and our excitement. I really don't have fun making rant videos. That's not the kind of artistic analysis that I want to put out in the world. I don't have fun just complaining. With that, let's call it a day. Folks, if you haven't already, go check out my recent appearance on the DC Infinite Hour with our pals Ahsoka the Geek, Brad the DC Universe Geek, and Rob D Toys. They are some of my absolute favorite people, and it is always a treat to get to hang out with them. We talked about all the live-action Batman movies, picked some of our favorite aspects of those films. It was a really great stream. Go watch that and then comment. Tell them you want me to show up on that program more often. And let me know what you think of this new video format. I'm sure some things will change as I figure out like what's working, what isn't. But overall, I'm excited about doing things this way. I think a change of pace will be good for all of us, and I think it'll be a good way to continue creating content for years to come. McFarlane, they've been kind of disappointing me a lot lately, but I don't intend on disappearing or anything. I'll be around. Next month, what do we got? Next month, we'll have some cool stuff. I know for sure I'll be looking at the new Ramen Toys 89 Batmobile canopy. So look for that down the road. I will also be doing a lot of live streams in June. So I will catch you guys soon. We'll talk, and yeah, peace out.